I wouldn't be embarrassed to make that argument in court, would you?
No, I would not be embarrassed. We are the Armed Attorneys. Today we're talking about the latest injunction to land with regard to the ATF's final rule on stabilizing braces. Now, we have had a lot of different people have injunctions granted. There has been some, I would say, confusion with regard to who's covered, who's not covered. I think this case actually adds a lot of clarity to a lot of people, even those not involved in the lawsuit. So you'll want to check that out. But before we begin, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting that like button. And today's video is brought to you by our friends over at Sonoran Desert Institute.
With more than 350 million firearms in the United States, the time has never been better to learn how to be a gunsmith. Sonoran Desert Institute offers online firearms technology education with hands-on labs and materials shipped right to your door.
Course topics range from AR-10, AR-15, or 1911 armor options to sports shooting management, ballistics, gunsmithing, and more. Get your education and turn your passion into a successful career. Visit sdi.edu or call 480-999-4767 to get started.
Tell them the Armed Attorney sent you or use our link in the description below. sdi.edu/armed-attorneys.
All right, so we're talking about the Gun Owners of America, Gun Owners Foundation, and the state of Texas. The state of Texas was a party to this lawsuit versus the ATF. This is case number 623CV000.13. And what is going on?
Well, I guess to negative Nancy this, again, we didn't get exactly what we wanted. However, we do have plaintiffs here, just like the case we just covered, the mock case, asking the court to temporarily enjoin the enforcement of the pistol arm brace rule. And we have the court in this case, not the Fifth Circuit, but we actually have the Southern District of Texas District Court judge saying, given the Fifth Circuit's decision, essentially, I think I have to issue this injunction. So issued. So new injunction, new plaintiffs, and a much more extensive order with a lot more interesting information, I think helps us clarify. Also, luckily, I think we've had some clarification come out on the Firearms Policy Coalition order from actually some attorneys there. We've talked to GOA attorneys, so we've got, I think, a much better idea today than we did several days ago of what's going on.
Yeah, and I think the court does a good job here as well because they say, hey, essentially the GOA, Gun Owners Foundation, and the state of Texas are asking for identical relief as in the mock case, and basically the court says we're going to grant that.
Yeah.
But because the court provides additional clarification in its order, I think it does have some implications onto, what the parameters are of the mock case, or at least it adds more arguments in favor of gun owners. So I think that's exciting.
Well, let's talk about Texas first, too, because this case actually had the state of Texas as a plaintiff as well. The state of Texas not only was asking for a nationwide injunction, which we didn't get, so we still didn't get exactly what we wanted, but then the state of Texas essentially said, okay, enjoin everyone across the state of Texas, right? Because, I mean, we have interests in protecting everyone across the state of Texas. And the court said, no, but you did make a good case for standing and for irreparable harm as to your direct employees, state of Texas. So essentially, it looks like, and having not read the actual pleadings in the case, just the injunction, it looks as though the state made a lot of to-do about, listen, we've got lots of law enforcement. Essentially, this is going to apply to the ATF attempted to argue that registering an SBR for law enforcement only takes 30 minutes. I highly doubt that given how long a Form 1 takes, but okay. And the court said this is still, there's lots of costs and irreparable harm. So the state of Texas is subject to this injunction, but only as to its employees. So we did not, just as regular citizens of Texas, get our injunction granted, just as the entire nation did not get an injunction granted.
Yeah, and so we see the final rule on stabilizing braces, the court pushing pause. Now, who are we talking about in this specific instance? Members of the Gun Owners Foundation, members of Gun Owners of America, and employees and agents of the state of Texas. And effectively, the court is saying for those folks, this final rule is not going to be imposed upon them. And I do think that there's clarification in this case that this would apply to all members of Gun Owners of America and Gun Owners Foundation across the United States. And I think that there's a better argument, and I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on this, that this would be nationwide, not nationwide as into every American, but nationwide as into the membership base. And I think it does add clarification to the mock case.
Yeah, well, it certainly doesn't read as limiting as the mock case. Also, we are hearing, doings that transpiring among those lawyers who are saying we believe this applies to our members nationwide. I will say, I'm just a simple criminal defense lawyer down here in Texas. I am not directly involved in these cases. I will defer to and trust the lawyers involved in those cases to know what is going on better than I. So, all righty, right?
Yeah.
Nationwide members sounds super.
But I think what's important to think about here, and where I do still think there's a gray area, and I know people are going to hard disagree on this, but I think there is an issue. If you were a member at the time of this injunction being, or the lawsuit being filed, or the injunction being granted, I think it's pretty clear that slam dunk, you're going to be covered by this stuff. I do think it still is gray if you become a member afterward. I know I've heard a lot of people say the exact opposite of that. But again, that's the thing. You get two lawyers in a room, you get three opinions. And so, you got to be careful about this stuff.
If your opinion as to all of this is, I will not comply, um, that's that's cool. You have a much better shot of just hedging your bets if you go ahead and join these groups, even if you weren't a member at the time, then you are not complying with at least a decent shot of, being covered by this injunction, or maybe convincing a law enforcement agent like, well, look, here's my little, I've got my GOA lifetime hat.
Yep.
I would never not wear that hat if I was carrying around my braced pistol, by the way. And I would be wearing my GOA shirt, and I've got a sweatshirt too, with my little tax stamp on the back.
Yep.
I mean, it's not my tax stamp, but it's a tax stamp. I would be a walking billboard for GOA if I were taking this item out and about. But that's just me. So if you're I will not comply person and you're not particularly worried, hedge your bets, join the groups. That's fine. If you are I am not going to do anything at all to even kind of test the waters here, because for whatever reason, my risk tolerance is low. I got a lot to lose. I'm doing a lot of other illegal stuff, and I don't like, like our rule. When we were prosecutors, we used to say, remember, you don't do two illegal things in a car at
commit
once.
one crime at a time.
Yeah, you just one when you're driving, one crime at a time, you will almost always be okay. But here we are. So what then if you're that person, then maybe don't hedge your bets on that. Don't say, I am basically a post injunction GOA member and I'm going to rely on that. If you're a very finicky person and you're really worried about doing this right, no, it might not apply to you.
Yeah, but I think there's been some good leading by example. I saw a tweet from Tim Pool. He joined Gun Owners Foundation. I mean, there's a lot of good gun groups out there, and you see they're working very hard. I would say notably absent is we haven't seen an injunction issued for the NRA. Is that coming at some point? I don't know.
What must be said about NRA at this point?
Well, they do important things, sure. But Second Amendment Foundation, they have an injunction issued. Firearms Policy Coalition, they have an injunction issued. And what this court really did, I mean, it said, hey, we're going to basically stay these proceedings until the mock case is resolved, because I think the Fifth Circuit is going to do an expedited review of that case.
Yes, it would appear so. So, and of course, this judge in the Southern District of Texas knows that he is in fact bound by the Fifth Circuit's decisions. So, judges hate to be reversed. I mean, look, no one likes to be told that they're wrong, right? Particularly judges. Judges hate to be reversed. So why put yourself in a position to be reversed when you know that it's actually proceeding? I mean, an identical case is proceeding.
But I think we would be doing a disservice to the audience if we didn't actually share what the court said in this case and what is the injunction. How does the injunction actually read?
It reads as such: defendants are enjoined from enforcing the final rule against 1, the private plaintiffs in this case, including its current members and their resident family members, and 2, individuals employed directly by the state of Texas or its agencies. The preliminary injunction will remain in effect pending resolution of the expedited appeal in Mock versus Garland. So that's our GOA. Again, it does say current members. So
see, I think that one, I like that better than members as of day one.
Yeah. So, okay, good point. Right. So if you are a current member, are you enjoined? I mean, does that mean that if I let my GOA membership lapse, I don't think I can. I think it's lapsed, but let's say I could let it lapse. Mm-hmm. Would I no longer be covered by the injunction?
Maybe. Gotta make sure you got a good credit card on file.
Yeah. So, okay. I mean, again, different. I mean, every attorney will have a slightly different interpretation. Why? Because we are paid to make arguments in your favor. I will say, if you joined GOA after this injunction, but you are a current member at the time that you got arrested for, let's say, unlawful possession of an SBR, I wouldn't be embarrassed to make that argument in court. Would you?
No, I would not be embarrassed, but do have an announcement for the channel. We have a primary sponsor that we have to give kind of a second shout out to. It's Sonoran Desert Institute. They've really stepped up and are really doing us a solid. And so we ask that you check them out over at sdi.edu. We're going to have a link down in the description below, but SDI going forward, you're going to hear us give them a shout out on the channel on virtually every single episode, but we encourage you to check them out. But we hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And please question and comment for us below. Let us know what your interpretation is of these competing injunctions. And until next time, we're the Armed Attorneys.